A leading city on the African continent, Johannesburg is considered by many world-renowned specialists as a springboard to the rest of Africa. One such leading opinion is Dr. John Demartini. Trust is important to most of us, simply because without trust, it can be extremely challenging to manage relationships. It is commonly understood that trust is the foundation of effective relationships, whether personal or business related. Human behavior specialist Dr. John Demartini maintains that one crucial element to establishing a productive work environment is trust. To discuss, he joins me now in studio. John, you always have a different slant to topics. So I think to begin, let's just get behind the general understanding around the psychology of trust.
If you have a 12-year-old boy who absolutely has as his highest value and love video games, you can trust he'll be doing his video games.
Okay, I knew you were going to say something like that.
But you can't trust him to do his homework, cleaning his room, and his chores.
Yeah.
So anything that is extremely valuable and highest on the values of any individual is what you can trust them to do. Because every human being is spontaneously inspired and committed to the fulfillment of what they value most. So anytime you don't know the individual and you expect them to do something that is high on your value but not their value, you set yourself up for betrayal. Betrayal is not what they do to you. Betrayal is what you do to you by expecting them to do something that's not really valuable to them.
So we don't really understand trust in terms of another person's values versus our expectations. How does this impact in the workplace, John?
Well, if you don't care enough to know who you're dealing with and to know what they value, you're going to set yourself up for very consistently a betrayal situation and non-trusting.
So we're living in our own values.
We're living in our own values and projecting assumptions onto people. And this is where people who do that and are somewhat puffing themselves up thinking that their values are right and others are not, they're the ones that feel that they get betrayed all the time. So the reality is that you can trust somebody to do what they value most, period. You can trust me to be researching and teaching, but you can't trust me to do cake decorating and driving.
Sure.
It's not likely to happen. So if I'm going to expect somebody to do something, it's unrealistic to expect them to do something that's not really valuable to them, unless I've communicated my expectation in a way where they're going to win in their highest values, and then they'll do it. So it's my responsibility. It's like a customer. You can't trust a customer to buy your service or product unless you meet their needs.
Yeah.
And then they're a trustworthy, loyal customer.
So how do you even begin establishing trust from the perspective you're coming from in a workplace? I mean, if you look at organizations that are large, you're working with so many different people. So how do you actually even begin the process of establishing kind of like an authentic level of trust in the workplace to ensure productivity?
Well, this goes back to management. As Drucker said, everything boils down to management. Management is hiring people. And before I hire somebody, I first define what their values are. I have a value determination process, as you know. And I go through that value determination process with anybody I'm going to hire. Because I want to know what they're really committed to, what they're dedicated to. Nobody goes to work for the sake of a company. They go to work to fulfill what they value most.
So the applicants coming to you don't know what they're in for when they're doing that value determination process.
Now, then what I do is I look at the job responsibilities and I find out how, I ask them a simple question. How specifically is doing this responsibility going to help you fulfill what's valuable to you? If they look at me and they go blank and they go, I don't know, I put an X. If I ask them the next one, how is doing this activity going to help you fulfill what you value? If they go rattle off fluently the answer and they're excited and you can see them getting inspired about it, then I put a check. If the number of checks are over 80%, this is a candidate. But if the number of checks are under 75%, I don't hire them. Because I can say that I'm going to have to micromanage them, I'm going to have to incentivize them, I'm going to have to push them uphill, I'm going to have to motivate them to get them to do things because they're not spontaneously inspired from within to do those responsibilities. So you can only trust somebody to do something that's going to be fulfilling to them also. Now, you can sit there and use incentives. I'll punish you and fire if you don't do it, and I'll give you a reward if you do. And that might help some people. But the wisest thing to do is to put the right people into the right job. Get the right people on the bus, as Jim Collins says. and make sure that you're screening people up front to make sure that they are inspired to do what responsibilities need to be done. Or otherwise, the manager above is going to be having to micromanage people all the time, and it's not going to be able to do what they're designed to do. And it just creates a chain reaction. So I can trust anybody to do what they value most, and I can trust them to do things if I communicate in a way where they're going to win in their values, or I delegate responsibilities that are going to match their values, etc. But if I am expecting them to do something that's not going to meet their values, if, for instance, if you hire somebody and their highest value is their children, and their children are under the age of 5, and there's 3 children at home, and the highest value is those children. I mean, she's got a job, and it's a woman that's got a job. If her children are sick and they have to go home from school, and she doesn't have some au pair nanny to take care of them, you can trust her to have to leave the office and have to take care of those kids.
Sure.
But if their highest value is business, 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 and they have 3 children, you can trust them to get au pairs and nannies to take care of that, and they'll say, well, when I get home, we'll take care of it. So you can only trust somebody to do what is valuable to them most. And if you really honor somebody and respect them, you'll find out what that is, and you'll communicate your expectations in terms where they can meet those needs. If you do, you don't feel betrayed. You feel trusted, and you can trust the people around you.
I want to just go back to what you were saying about the value determination process that you offer to applicants. It's a crazy question, but can you trust that they're actually answering those questions authentically?
Well, the questions are objective questions, so they can't think in advance what you're going to expect because it's about their life. So they can't fake it easily. Because the questions will, if they're not consistent down the list, that's a sign right there. There's a consistent pattern that will show up in it if it's being done integrally. So we have kind of a built-in check on that system based on the questions are. But I look at how they fill their space. I look at how they spend their time. I look at where they have where they gain energy, what they spend their money on, where they're most organized, where they're most disciplined, what do they think about, visualize, and affirm inside themselves about how they want their life that shows evidence coming true, what inspires them, what do they converse with other people about most, what are the most consistent goals that are coming true in their life, and what do they love learning, spontaneously love learning about. I look at objective data about their life, about what their life spontaneously does, because if I just ask somebody what their values are, they'll tell me social idealisms and cliches and platitudes and things. But if I look at what their life demonstrates, that's what counts. Your life demonstrates your values. What you say and what you live may not be the same, so I go by what they actually live. If I know that, that's what I can trust. I can trust the boy to do his video games. I can't trust him to do his homework. I can trust the mother whose highest value is children to be taking care of those children. I can't trust her to be at work. I can trust the person who's an entrepreneur to be in there working 8-10 hours a day on that entrepreneurial adventure, but I can't trust them to go on working out and running and jogging.
Sure.
So I can only trust people according to what their highest value, and I will, if I'm expecting them to live in their lower values, I'm setting myself up for betrayal.
It makes a lot of sense what you're saying, and there's merit in that, because I know if I have to look back in my career as well, when I was applying for a leadership role at a financial institution, I had to undergo some psychometric testing. And they were very impressed with me in terms of my level of confidence and my skills, because I had quite a lot of skills in that field at the time. But they were concerned with the outcome of the psychometric testing, which showed that I wasn't very ambitious. And I just couldn't relate to that, because I think my highest calling was communications. And that's something that was, I wanted to pursue at that time seriously. And that reflected in the psychometric result.
And they were measuring something different.
And they mentioned that they were, you seem to have all these wonderful qualities and the skills, etc., and perfect for the job, but we're just concerned that what is coming through here is that you're not so ambitious about this particular field.
Exactly.
It's weird, but it was like...
I'm very ambitious when it comes to teaching around the world on human behavior. You can rely on me to do it. I've been doing it 45 years.
I suppose ambition has something to do with the passion and the calling, doesn't it?
Well, when you're doing something that's congruent with your highest value, you automatically walk your talk, you tend to achieve more, you expand your space and time horizons, and you're more ambitious to do it. But if you ask me to cook, last time I cooked, I was 24. So I'm not domestic. And last time I drove was 27 years ago. So you can't trust me to be driving a car, and you can't trust me to be cooking. but you can trust me to research and write and travel and teach.
Sure. For organizations that are not actually working with a system that you're promoting right now in terms of the value determination process, etc., they have a team of people. What would you say are the 3 steps they can take to start building trust at work to ensure that people are communicating on that level where there is innovation and productivity coming through as a result of that?
Well, if they have this expectation that they have to do everything that they say they're going to do and they're doing, and they try to fake it, they're going to be setting themselves up for betrayal. Mm-hmm. If they really honor and respect the person's values and get to know that human behavior is based on values, every decision a human being makes is based on what they believe at that moment will give them the greatest advantage or disadvantage to whatever they value most. That's it. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Okay. I'm going to show my own betrayal here. I had an opportunity I was planned to be speaking in London on a particular date, and they had 200 people already signed up for the program in advance. And I got a call from Larry King live show in Los Angeles, CNN. And that reached 99 million people.
I can imagine that, yeah.
Okay, and I had 200 people versus 99 million. Now, in my value system, what do you think I'd probably be wanting to do?
Of course, 99 million.
Okay, so what happened is I called the guy, and I didn't want to have to cancel that, but I didn't want to pass up the opportunity. So I thought, how do I communicate the option and opportunity that I have now in a way where he's not offended? So I said, right now, how many people we have for the program? He says, well, 200. I said, if I was going on Larry King Live and you notified all of your database that I'll be on there and they watched it, would that catalyze a greater response? And if we postpone it 2 days, could we get more people in the program? And if so, how many of those people, if we sent that information out to on the 200, would still come? Mm. And he thought it through, and I said, and if I'm willing to pay the difference of your cost for doing that, would that be meanable to do it if I grab that show? And he says, that would be wonderful. I have a feeling we'll have a bigger outcome. We had 700 people at the program, and he was pleased.
Yeah.
Now, if he would have said to me, well, you lied to me, you said you're going to come, and you betrayed me, and you did this and this and this, I'd have to weigh out which one I would be upsetting. Mm-hmm. You know, because I'm now, am I going to upset him or am I going to upset my own life? Yeah. And these are the things that every human being has to face. Executives have to face this, government has to face this, Zuma has to face this, everybody has to face
and
these decisions.
These are tough decisions sometimes.
These are real life decisions. And each decision is going to be based on what you assess at that moment, because you have a part of the brain that assesses risk, rewards, etc. Mm-hmm. Assess those and you'll make a decision. And that decision you may not have had when you told somebody you were going to do something.